Welcome to the Pig and Whistle Tales from Azeroth. As always here at the Pig and Whistle Inn in Stormwind, I go for a variety of subjects with regards to World of Warcraft. So grab a bottle or a pint, sit back and enjoy. Today's subject is going to be a bit different as to last week's, obviously. I don't think anything will quite happen as it did last week. Obviously that's not to mention that it's, been forgotten. But we're going to be looking at sort of the best places to level, in my opinion, within World of Warcraft, and sort of my guide to leveling, where I go, what I sort of do. I always have the same sort of routine when it comes to leveling a new character. This is going to be a classic edition, because obviously classic and retail are very much different in terms of content that you can utilize to level up. But we'll start obviously with the weekly stuff for classic, not for classic, for retail. So the weekly sort of brawl, or the weekly events as well, is Burning Crusade time walking. So you can grab a mount, you can go into Black Temple time walking, do all the old dungeons there, and grab some nice gear, rep, whatever you want. The world boss for this week is Nurgash Muckformed. This is the world boss in Revendreth, the big dredger. So hop over there, get your anima, nice and easy. You have, for the mythic affixes this week, you have Tyrannical, which is the bosses are a bit tankier, as well as the ads that they summon. You have Sanguine, so make sure you don't step in any puddles on the floor, it's not good for you. You have Storming, which so basically don't get hit by little tornadoes, nice and simple. And then obviously you have Tormented, which is the seasonal affix for Season 2. And you have a weekly brawl this week, and this brawl is Gravity Lapse. So every now and again you'll get thrown up into the air and shot back down at a very fast rate. And yeah, you can relocate yourself very quickly utilising that, or have mid-air duels. That's always good fun. Especially if you press Convoke mid-air, that's a really good one, not going to lie. But yeah, we're going to be looking at sort of the best places to level, my sort of guide to leveling, that kind of thing. And this isn't going to be like, okay, when you get to levels 27.5, you're going to go to this place. This is just what I do. I don't necessarily differ or vary that much in terms of my leveling experience. It's very much the same every time. This is mainly because I like the places that I go. I like the quests there, they're nice and simple. I have a very simple routine when it comes to doing these quests. So, obviously, if you look at the Classic Edition, you've got Kalimdor, Eastern Kingdoms, and now Outland. So, we are going to be including Outland as it is part of Classic now, as it is in TBC Classic. And I'm sure that this will carry on until Wrath of the Lich King Classic, and then we'll see from there. But the zones that, sort of you're going to look at are very few and far, or some of them I've noticed aren't the greatest. I looked through the entire list of zones when it comes to Classic and TBC. I'm not a big fan of most of them on the left hemisphere of Azeroth. I'm not going to lie. It's quite surprising, to be honest. But obviously you have the starting zones. Now, these starting zones are all very good. There's two exceptions to this, and this is Durotar for the Horde and Dunmorrow for the Alliance. Now, I say these two because it's tough to describe, but when you look at a zone, I tend to look at three sort of things: the visual of the zone, so what it looks like, how it makes you feel, if it, is an eyesore for you, if it's lovely to look at, lovely to look around, you sort of admire it, that kind of thing. The quests that are in the zone is a massive part of it, obviously, as it is a place that you are leveling, and in Classic you have to do quests to level up. It's pretty impossible. Well, it's not impossible to level to 60 just by killing mobs, but it takes a while, unless you're a mage, obviously. And you have the zone layout. Now, what do I mean by zone layout? I mean the length and width of the zone and how well-rounded it is in terms of the quests being spread out, in terms of where the quests send you, in terms of multiple quests sending you to just completely opposite corners, that kind of thing. And with Durotar being a very thin and lengthy strip of land, and Dun Morogh being a sort of wide and semi chunky in terms of width or length and width, they're quite big zones, or they have a lot of running when it comes to the quests that you are given, I would say. So obviously you have the I forget the word of it, the landscape to contend with as well. If you compare Dun Morogh to Elwyn Forest is very much similar in terms of Dun Morogh by the way that it's built. So it's about the same size in terms of its, length, and then height, it's kind of the same. It's kind of the same. But what gives Dun Morogh the worst sort of, the short end of the stick, as it were, is its landscape. So you're constantly going up and down hills, you're constantly running around mountains, you're constantly running down into caves. Now, don't get me wrong, Elwyn Forest, you go into caves, you go into, the Jasper Lode mine or whatever it's called, but you're not having to trek around mountains or go down into these canyons to get there. You just run to the mine symbol on the map and you're there. Nothing's really going to get in your way. You might get killed by some warlocks, murlocs or wolves, but you're not having to run around any sort of terrain, pretty much. That's why I'm not necessarily a big fan of Dun Morogh and Durotar, because when you get to the second town in Durotar, it's pretty much just a canyon that you've got a few quests to do in with the harpies and stuff, just north of Razor Hill, and obviously you're running out to the left and it's just barren. It's just an eyesore. It's not fun to look at all. That's kind of what does it for Durotar. It's not the fact that it's the land actually making stuff harder. It's the fact that it is just an eyesore. It's just barren. It's a wasteland. It's not fun to look at. There's no diversity in it. It's not good. It's not good. If you compare it to, say, some of the lands that border it, or kind of border it, you got Ashenvale, which is a nice lush forest. You have Azshara's a bit weird. You can see what they were going for. It's a bit of a funky design, but it is still weird, and I'm not keen on it, in all honesty. But there are some lush lands that, are adjacent to Durotar and around Durotar that you can look at and be quite upset that you're just sat in this barren wasteland questing, to be honest. Okay, so enough about the starting zones, because they're quite simple in a sense. So, obviously, all the starting zones are amazing, in my opinion, apart from Durotar and Dun Morogh. They're still not bad, but it's not for me, to be honest. If you compare them to, say, the simplicity of Elwyn, to the amazing, world tree of the Night Elves, to to Mulgore, which is the lush plains, to the Undercity, or, I've forgotten the name of oh my god, I actually forgotten the name. Tirisfal Glades. There we go. Tirisfal Glades, where the undead start. There's a lot of lore behind it, so there's many different things that give the starting zones their uniqueness, but Dunmorrow and Durotar are out of the running for me. So the zones that I kind of, enjoy are very much luscious ones. There are some in here that aren't necessarily luscious, and I'm looking at one right now, and I can tell you it certainly is not. But there is something amazing to it that I just find great, and we'll get to that when I get to that. But I'll do this in order as much as I can. Let's just get started. So, Westfall. Westfall is a great zone. Absolutely love it. Borders, obviously, Duskwood, Stranglethorn Vale, it borders Elwyn Forest. It's going from Elwyn Forest as a human to, say, you're going from midsummer where everything's absolutely lush green, you're going into Westfall and it's suddenly autumn or fall or whatever, if you're American, and it's not brown. It's more of a yellowy sort of colour. The leaves have just started turning, that kind of thing. You've got obviously the crop fields, you have all the golems, you have obviously the beach and stuff like that. And it's not an eyesore, it's not like a barren wasteland, it's not necessarily in your face sort of massive green fields like Elwyn is. It's its own uniqueness. It's like you're going through the seasons as you go to Westfall. So that's quite nice to actually look at, to be honest. And to go along with it, you've got the quests. The quests are great. It's such a small zone. This is the second zone which humans tend to go towards. And you've come from a big, long, and quite... I want to say high, but that's not the word. You've come from a long zone, like Elwyn Forest, a very long zone. And you come to sort of a well-rounded zone where it's just a lot smaller. It's about half the size of Elwyn, to be honest, I'd say. And it's just a nice switch up, because obviously you're running just lengthways, you're going up, down, left, right in Westfall, and it does make a lot more of a difference. So Westfall is a great place to level, in my opinion. It's got great quests, the visuals are great, the zone layout is perfect, and it ticks all the boxes for me. Next one is Duskwood. Duskwood is completely different to Elwyn and Westfall. It's dark. It's quite a dark presence. It's got dark presence around it, and the quests there again are very simplistic. Is it the width? I'd say it's the width of Elwyn. I am right in saying that, yeah. So, obviously, you're going from Elwyn Forest to Westfall, which is a bit smaller, back to the more longer and, just the longer zones with Duskwood. And it is a complete mix-up, because you've been levelling in these two places that are, quite lush, quite bright, and then you just get thrown into this deep, dark wood where there's, werewolves about, Worgens, obviously, but it's sort of that there's a werewolf in the woods and you should be very much frightened. I mean, some of the quests are literally just go and kill the Worgen, and, it's quite entertaining, to be honest. It's a very simple quest. All the quests let you explore the zone in this place, and this is kind of the first zone that really sends you everywhere, to be honest. Like, you really get to experience the entire zone, because if you want to do the Spiders quest, you've got to run the north side of Duskwood, and then you start doing, towards the latter stages, you start doing the Ogre quests, the Worgen in the Woods quests, and they take you to the bottom part of the zone. You've got the Skeletons, which take you to the far left of the zone. You've got multiple ones where you are on the right hand side, you're just killing some small skeletons, you're at like a church, and there's loads of corpses, and it's great. It sends you everywhere, and you really get a feel for the zone. The zone does really good in terms of building its atmosphere around you. You've got the creepy eyes lurking in the bushes. If you've never noticed that detail, by the way, please keep an eye out for it, because it is quite a good little thing. You just see these like flickering eyes in the bushes in Duskwood, and you don't necessarily notice these tiny little things when you're just going about your business leveling. It is good fun. Next one is Redridge. Now, obviously, all of these are human zones at the moment, and I don't plan it that way. It's just these are good zones that I like, in all honesty. So you have Redridge. Redridge, again, is very much the latter stages of Westfall. It's coming to winter time almost. Everything's starting to go, red and orangey red colour. You get thrown about all over the place, killing wildlife, killing orcs, killing... It's not furbolg, is it? It's the gnolls. That's the word, the gnolls. In the top right, you've got this quiet, peaceful little town, and then up on the hill, you've got this massive keep that's being held by, like, the orcs, pretty much. And, it gives that sort of feeling of, we really need your help, hero, that kind of thing. Because we've got Murlocs on the shore to the town. We've got the orcs that are holed up in, like, this keep that used to be, an alliance outpost or whatever. So there's many different quests, and the quests do vary as well. And I like the zone mainly because it's a very kill-heavy quest zone. So for Westfall and Elwyn, you very much had a limited amount of these kill quests, and these kill quests were exact. So kill 6, kobolds or whatever. Whereas in Redridge, you need 5 pieces of spider meat, but it will take you about 20 kills to get it. 30 kills. Might even take 50 if you're unlucky. It's just one of them things. And these quests are sort of a buffer for myself, because I tend to skip some quests that I don't necessarily like. These buffer quests really help in terms of filling out the XP that I might have missed from not picking up the other quests that I don't necessarily enjoy. And this is where I sort of catch up with my leveling, almost, as it were. So Redridge is really good because it's just a nice sort of warm feeling, cozy feeling of that, autumn or fall going into winter time. The zone layout's great. Quests are very much simple but great at the same time, and they fit my playstyle and my leveling guide really well, because it is sort of a filler of that XP that I might have missed in the past. Moving on, we've got Hillsbrad, or Wetlands as well. These two sort of coincide at the same time. So they are completely different, I'm not going to lie. Hillsbrad obviously is a bit more lush, green. You've got 2 rival towns. It's a very small, condensed zone, so everything's quite close to each other. And the quests are very simple. One after the other, kill this, kill that, grab this, grab that. Very simple. Absolutely love it. And it does have a bit of lore behind it, if you are a lore nerd, with the Ashbringer stuff. You've got, obviously, it was a town of Lordaeron, and Lordaeron is now Undercity, so it's got a bit of lore behind it, the zone, and it's good fun to just sort of chill out there. That's where I sort of fill in 1 or 2 levels if I'm not necessarily feeling, good about any of the other zones. I just want to switch it up a bit. And Wetlands is completely different. It's a marsh. It's literally a marsh, and it's quite bleak. I'm not even going to lie. It is quite a bleak zone. It's very much darky green, water everywhere. It reminds me of England, which is home, so I'm kind of just used to that, I guess. But it's a switch up from everything that I previously have been going to. So, Elwyn Forest, Westfall, Redridge, Duskwood. Well, Duskwood is kind of the same. It's sort of dark, but it's not as marshy and stuff like that. But the quests I like, because the zone is shaped like a dolphin. It's very much just an arch. the quests send you out and you just go around this arch from left to right. And that's what makes it amazing for me, because I like to do things very methodically when I come to questing. So I'll know what quests I need to grab and I know what to do, and I'll sort of plan out a route. And having this arch really helps out, because you can just bounce from one quest to the other. And then when you get to the end, you can just go back, and anything that you might have missed, that you might not have wanted to do at the time, but you want to do now, you can obviously do on the way back. You hand it all in, get the next set of quests, and off you go again. So there is a very simplistic nature to the zone layout, and that's what I love about Wetlands. Not obviously its visuals, but the quests and the zone layout make it so easy for my brain to sort of process and work with in this regard. The next zones that we have, and now this is a good... I can't imagine that anyone hates this zone, in all honesty. My brain just can't process that thought. Stranglethorn Vale. Now, this is probably one of my favourite zones in the game. That's including a retail well. And Stranglethorn is just the place where it starts to get real. Is my experience. It's the first place you're sort of meeting Horde, you're getting ganked, you're killing gankers, everything's going on. The zone is very simplistic in just you work your way down the zone, and the quests are very much go back, kill this, go back, kill this. You get like 3 repetitive quests. If you look at the Tiger Mastery, the Raptor Mastery, and the Panther Mastery, obviously you get kill 10 of each, come back and you get another kill 10 of each raptor, kill 10 of each raptor, and then you kill a big raptor. And it's just great XP. This zone is amazing for XP because of the amount of quests that it gives, and it spans 10 levels, because you're looking at the north of Stranglethorn and you enter it at like level 30, and then when you're looking at the south of it, you should be around level 39, 40 when you're sort of doing them quests, and it just spans 10 levels. And this is why I think I love the zone, because I know when I'm done with the zone, I'll be about 12 or 13 levels above where I initially entered the zone from, and my character would have progressed a lot more since then. So this is why I love the zone. And let's face it, it's a jungle, it's amazing. You've got critters trying to kill you everywhere, you've got gorillas jumping out of stuff, you've got goblins that are mining stuff, you've got trolls everywhere, you've got some base camps of like ogres, humans. Don't get me started on the damn medicine men in the top right of Stranglethorn. They were impossible to kill at the start of Classic, I swear. But it's a great zone. And going down the zone and going right to the end of the zone and picking up the first Bloodsail Buccaneers quest, where you get the snuff, you get to loot Dizzy's eye, you have to just kill buccaneers, like swashbucklers. Oh, it was great. It was a great zone, and I always remember that one quest, the Bloodsail Buccaneers quest. Just running along that beach, killing all of them NPCs. Oh, it's great. One of the best zones, if not the best zone in Classic, I'd say, by far. Good times in that. So you sort of have a little skip here with Stranglethorn Vale, but Tanaris is the complete opposite of Stranglethorn Vale, and I think that's why I like it so much, because I would usually go from Stranglethorn Vale, a massive lush forest full of wildlife that's going to kill you, like tigers, panthers, raptors, to a desert where there's still wildlife going to kill you, but it's a scorpion. It's like a courier bird or whatever. It's completely different wildlife, and the two things just are completely different. And spending about 12, 13 levels in Stranglethorn Vale, you are ready for something new. And that something new is the complete opposite, in my opinion, or for me anyway. Tanaris, again, very straightforward. You can press numlock in this zone and you will get there in a few minutes. So you can numlock and you can go and grab a drink and you'll be there when you come back. That's just amazing. You're not going to worry about running into terrain as much. You're not going to worry about not being like just hitting a hill that you can't climb. It's very much, you press numlock, you're going to get there. Don't you worry. And again, the zone is just very round. So everything seems quite close. And this is the time where you pick up your mounts and stuff if you were in Classic, because that was level 40. But obviously it's level 30 now in TBC Classic. But this is the first zone that you'll really experience with your mount, like fully. And that's probably what gives it a bit of charm as well. You obviously have an iconic dungeon in Zul'Farrak in the top left of Tanaris. But the quests that you get there are very, very nice. You go and kill some, Waste Wanderer scavengers or whatever they're called. You go down and kill some like rocks or something, the courier birds. You go and get some water pouches. You go and do many things. You go get turtle shells or whatever. The pirates on the far right of Tanaris as well. That's great. Great XP, absolutely great little camp. I've had memories there of killing a horde, camping horde, world epics dropping, horde camping me, so I switch over to camp them. It's just absolutely amazing, some of the memories I've had in Tanaris. And like I said, the layout or the visual isn't necessarily the best, but you're coming from Stranglethorn Vale, the lush zone of the forest, to a desert, and that's just what spices it up, and that's what gives it its sort of quality, its uniqueness in a way, because you haven't seen anything like that in a while, that kind of thing. So we're moving on to the next place, and obviously you can't have sort of a best places to level without mentioning the Plaguelands. Now, Eastern and Western, by the way. Maybe Western was a bit more better in terms of like the quests, I'd say, potentially. But actually no, I'm gonna go back on that. I'd say Eastern is the better one because you have the Tyrian Fordring quest line technically, even though most of that takes part in the other Plaguelands, but you know what I mean. So these Plaguelands, loads of quests, simplistic layout, massive lore marks, like landmarks. You have Anderhall in Western Plaguelands. You have Light's Hope Chapel in Eastern Plaguelands. You have Stratholme in Eastern Plaguelands. Darrowshire in Eastern Plaguelands. You have Tyr's Hand is obviously in Eastern Plaguelands, but you have Hearthglen in Western Plaguelands. All of these are amazing lore places, and every lore nerd would know them, in all honesty. They are places where the Scourge were held off, they were fought back, they were taken over, they held many great battles, that kind of thing. But it's all connected to Lordaeron and everything. So lore-wise, it's absolutely amazing. Visual-wise, again, it's quite dull and bleak, but when you're going into towns that have been burnt down by massive battles from the Scourge versus the living, that kind of thing, you kind of feel like there is no other way to see it. And the visual effects, I mean, look, it's going to be all burnt down, it's going to be decaying and stuff like that because it is a Scourge land. But if you look at retail, obviously the land is being restored, there is some more green in there, it's growing back, so they're kind of telling a story with these lands, and they do so in the quests themselves with the whole Tyrian Fordring quest line, where you attempt to save Tyrion's son because he's a member of the Scarlet Crusade, and the Scarlet Crusade are just absolutely bonkers. So there's loads of quest lines to be done, and there's loads of lore within these places. It's absolutely amazing. And the zone layout is very simple. One of them is just a backwards sea. The path literally is just a backwards sea through the Eastern Plaguelands. And for Western Plaguelands, you have like this little hub of Anderhall, and then you've got above that just the decaying sort of green that's above it. and it's just great. The quests are what make it. The quests and the lore behind the zone are what make it. Read every quest in them zones, and I promise you that you will enjoy it. It is great fun to go through, and it's part of WoW history, the Plaguelands, very much so. So, you definitely can't count them out. So, obviously, moving on into the Outlands, you have sort of, the very first one, I think most people do like, some people don't, but it's Hellfire. Hellfire for me is really good, mainly because when you first step into Outlands, that is the zone that you see. You're like, oh my god, this is amazing. Now, it's very much barren. It's like Tanaris. There's no green at all. It's just barren and dead. But the quests do it justice. For Alliance, you are kind of slap bang in the middle of the zone with Honor Hold. Horde are obviously there as well, but a little bit more out, I would say. And the quests are all around you, so you can pinpoint what ones you want to do first. You know what leads where, and you can sort of tie them all together, that kind of thing. But because you're in the middle, you've just got a circle to do around your base, and then you go back and hand all of them in, get the new ones. So again, it really works well with my mind in terms of how simple it is to plan a route and stuff like that. Moving on to the next zone, Nagrand. Absolutely amazing. So rich with life. You got so much wildlife. The killing quests in Nagrand are amazing. Again, I love anything that's sort of a filler level, because kill 30 of these things. Yeah, I'm down. That's loads of XP for me. I don't care. Kill 30 of these things again. Okay, sure, I'm down. Kill 30 again. Okay, I'll just go and, make them extinct. I'll just turn them into dodos, pretty much. All right, yeah, whatever. The amount of XP, it's great. No wonder dodos are extinct if they gave this much XP. There's probably a quest for them. But it's just great. Going through all of these, I'm kind of noticing that I have a thing for either very lush land or very barren. There's sort of no in between, because if I sort of say Feralis, it's green and there is forests to it, but it's also a dark green and it's kind of a murky green. It's quite weird. I've only just noticed that when going through all of these. It's quite fun. But the last one on the list, Shadowmoon Valley. Now, I never did this in retail, at the appropriate level. I only just did it in classic TBC, and it was quite fun. I'm not going to lie, it's quite fun. Obviously, it helped me out when I had a flying mount, and I'm not too sure about it with just a ground mount, but the quests in there are very nice. They lead into a lot of the stuff with, Black Temple. They lead into the history behind Gul'dan and what happened to the world, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of lore in Shadowmoon Valley, and the quests, again, are very simple. The zone isn't that big, so you're not running for 10-15 minutes to get there, or you're not flying for 5 minutes. It is just very much, I'm there, I'm back within a minute, 2, 5, whatever. It's very good, and it mixes it up with the sort of elite quests and the solo content that you can do, so you can mix it up quite a bit in that regard. But they're sort of my best places to level within WoW, obviously. The sort of guide that I would go for is obviously you start off in the starting zone. This will be either for Alliance, this is going to be Alliance, but Shadow Glen or Teldrassil or Elwyn Forest. You'd move on to Westfall, then go to Redridge, and then Wetlands and Duskwood, either or. Then you'd head into Arathi Highlands, possibly Stranglethorn Vale. You'd hit some dungeons to sort of fill in that gap. These are where you want to do the filler quests that I kind of mentioned, to kill all of these quests. That's why Stranglethorn is so good for this. And then you'd go Tanaris. And then, you'd probably go Ungoro to do a lot of filler quests there. It's not necessarily my favourite place, but Ungoro is a lot of kill and collect quests, and that is right up my alley. It's literally a circle, the zone. So you just run around the circle, do the quests, nice and easy. Hit the Plaguelands, obviously get all that lore, stuff. Get full of that lore. It is absolutely amazing. Read all of the quest text. It's brilliant. Then obviously you head into Outlands. You see the amazing Hellfire Peninsula with the Legion attacking the portal. Then you've got Zangarmarsh, Terakar Forest, Nagrand. Finally end up in Shadowmoon. So some of these are a bit of a jump, like the Stranglethorn Vale to Tanaris. But this is where the filler quests come in. This is where dungeons come in. You can do dungeons every now and again. But, the filler quests are what's important. This is why I like places like Redridge, where you've got loads of kill quests. Duskwood is also quite good for that. Stranglethorn Vale especially is amazing. Arathi, again, is sort of a filler if you don't necessarily have the level requirement to head into Stranglethorn just yet. You can get a couple quests in Arathi to buffer out them extra levels. And yeah, it's still pretty good. I don't really differ from this guide too much. It's very much my go-to whenever I level a character. If I'm feeling a bit weird, or if I'm feeling like I want to switch it up a bit, I might head to Darkshore instead of Westfall or something like that, as Darkshore is quite a nice zone. It's just, how you navigate the zone is a bit tougher because of the quests that they allow and the quests that you give. Some will be at the very bottom, some will be at the very top of the zone, and you're in the middle. It kind of doesn't feel good to go all the way to the bottom just to go up to the top, or vice versa, that kind of thing. But that is all for this week. Thank you all very much for listening. Bit different as to what it was last week, but some stuff that you can't skip over pretty much. Thank you all very much for listening. Do check out the social medias, check out Patreon as well. If you are a Patreon member, check out the weekly Patreon podcast. Still going with them, still got loads of stuff to cover, so make sure you keep tuned in. Check out the website, it's got everything on there, and go with Valorfriend. Goodbye all.